11. To everything, there is a season. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven, a time to be born, and a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill, and a time to heal, a time to break down, and a time to build up, a time to weep, and a time to laugh, a time to mourn, and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones, and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to get, and a time to lose, a time to keep, and a time to cast away, a time to rend, and a time to sow, a time to keep silence, and a time to speak, a time to love, and a time to hate, a time of a war, and a time of peace. Ecclesiastes 3. Mark set his bag down at the front door of the beach house, their beach house, and waited expectantly. Jennifer was the first. He heard the door to her bedroom open. A startled gasp came next. Then he heard a delighted squeal and his shoulders relaxed. He let out a pent-up breath he didn't know he'd been holding. If Jennifer loved her newly renovated bedroom, her siblings would too. Lisa reached her bedroom next. "Come and see, Daddy. The elves have been at work and I have a princess bedroom." Kelly, the outdoor girl in the family, squealed in delight as she discovered that her bedroom had been turned into a jungle. The funniest reaction of all came from Henry. He stood in the doorway of the bedroom he'd always grumbled about, claiming it was the run of the litter. One wall had been extended and a sunroom added overlooking the ocean. Clearly Henry's room was now the largest one. Henry scratched his head and backed out of the room, much to the delight of his audience. "Somebody stole my sweet little bedroom and left me an arena in its place," he drawled. "What am I going to do with all this space?" Never one to miss an opportunity, Miss Helen pointed out that the sunroom had a dining table just perfect for sunset dinners. Henry agreed that he could think of no better use for his sunroom. Miss Helen shyly invited them to come and see her room, where a complete sewing corner had been set up. "It's just so grand, Dr. Mark," she said quietly. "I never had a real place to sew before. I always had to use my dining room table and take everything down and put it away each time I sewed." The girls clamored to be allowed to learn how to sew, and Miss Helen said that she'd think about it. Everyone could tell that she was already planning sewing project for her sewing apprentices. Dinner that night was indeed in Henry's sunroom. Everyone pronounced the sunset perfect. Then the girls cleared the table, insisting that Miss Helen sit. "Were you going to announce you bought the beach house, Mark?" asked Henry. "Let's just say Bobby and I worked out a mutually agreeable deal," Mark responded. "I figured the announcement would be anticlimactic after the bedroom unveiling." Mark shrugged. "Besides, a few more pieces have to fall in place and then I'll have a doozy of an announcement." In spite of their pleas for hints, Mark remained close-mouthed. "All in good time, my friends, all in good time," was his only response. "But, Henry, you might want to list that place of yours soon," he hinted vaguely. "I wonder what he's up to," Henry mused when Mark went to take a phone call. "I'm sure he knows what he is doing," Miss Helen commented complacently. "Things happen when they are meant to. The time is ripe for change," she added. "Well, aren't you the little Confucius?" Henry quipped. "You're just miffed that you don't know what's going on," Miss Helen said lightly. "Well, neither do you," Henry exclaimed, obviously frustrated. "You're right," agreed Miss Helen. "But there's a difference. I am quite content to wait. There's a time for everything." "Well, I'm not a patient man," Henry retorted. "Duly noted," Miss Helen stated, smiling at Henry. Just then Mark entered the room. He was smiling broadly. "Okay everyone. Time for a family meeting." When everyone had assembled, Mark began. "I have some exciting news. I hope you are all going to be happy to hear what I have to say." "What is it, Daddy?" asked Kelly, looking worried. "How would you like to live here at the beach all the time?" he asked. They all looked at one another in wonder. "But Daddy, won't your arms get tired flying back and forth?" Lisa asked. "Well, they surely would, my little lima bean," he responded, "if I were going to fly back and forth. But, I'm not going to run the California clinic anymore. Dr. David will be in charge of that one." "How are we going to live then?" asked Jennifer, the practical daughter. "I am opening a new practice in Myrtle Beach. Until it is up and going, I will be working with Dr. Grayson 2 days a week in Charleston. Besides, Dr. David is buying my practice in California and will be sending us a check each month. And Granddad is selling his place in San Francisco and he's going to become a Walmart greeter to help us make ends meet. We can get paper routes and Miss Helen can sell her famous biscuits." Kelly volunteered. "Sweet pea, that's very generous," Mark said, hugging each daughter tightly. But we can make this work. I've thought it all through. This will be a good change for us all. We'll have some adjusting to do, but your friends from the West Coast can visit us in the summer and we'll all make new friends. It's time for a change. I know this is the right thing for us. The moving company is packing our stuff now. Bobby's oldest daughter is moving into our old house. Will Mummy's portrait be coming, too? Lisa asked anxiously. I left special instructions for the movers to be very careful in transporting Mommy's portrait, Lima being. Mummy's picture starts its journey tomorrow. Then everything is okay, isn't it, Daddy? Asked Lisa. Very okay, agreed Mark. But I need to get a new Melissa for me and for you girls.